I was born in Yardley, within a stone's throw of the club, and I spent all my life in Yardley. My father was quite a significant name in local politics when I was a boy. He was quite a senior member of what the Labour Party at the time, who were affiliated to the Co-op and used the sports ground on a significant number of occasions through the year to do sports days for kids, and there was a number of charity events going on. So as a schoolboy, I played football there.
And the club was run by Co-op employees, and it was really very efficient.
In the 60s and 70s, we had 6 grass court tennis courts there. It was a fantastic club.
Oxfam and the Co-op came together first in Birmingham, and a series of fundraising activities was planned. The first of these was a girls' football match. These two teams are from Sparkhill and Yardley Co-op societies. Sparkhill are in the stripes, and Yardley are wearing a fetching ensemble of dark blue.
So we'd got football, cricket, bowls, the outdoor sports. Indoor sports, there were dominoes, there was darts, there was pool, there was jukebox, we had a dance floor, which we paid for.
When I used to go in that club at the weekend, it was thriving. There was football on all of the time. It was so obvious that there was still a need for it in the community, and people wanted to go and wanted to play and were taking their children to play there.
We had families in there every weekend, the kids were there, the children were safe, not running the streets.
And then something happened between that time and towards the end of 2013-14. They didn't want to spend any money in the club at all then. It should be said that Peter Haddock spent literally thousands of pounds of his own money trying to maintain that club.
When I had my own business, I had my staff working there doing jobs which I paid them for. It kept on going, and we used to get a grant, 10,000 a year, but they still owed us money.
But the club was so disrespectful of what he was trying to do. The Co-op just decided that they had a different road they wanted to go down. They saw the opportunity to sell it for money, and that became their focus, and everything else was the past. The future was, we're going to try and maintain the cricket to give the impression that we're still actively involved in community-based sports project work, but we're not interested in the football.
And the electric got cut off, and that was the end of the club. Well, I put a big generator in there to keep the club going, because there was Arden Forest had got a football tournament and everything. And then they come the one day and said, we're closing the club on such and such a date, and that was that.
The reality was that if the committee had given them, and I'm sure Peter did do this during his liaison meetings with Co-op representatives, showed them how much was going on in the club, how much the facilities were being used. And that would have demonstrated that there was still a significant need for that club. The local community was still using it. But it didn't change the Co-op from their goal of cashing in on the ground. But the committee were so committed to maintaining it because there were so many community-based football clubs who were still using it. The kids, as well as the adults, were still playing there on Saturdays and Sundays. The ground was in such a terrible state. I was asked to meet Jane Powers on the ground, which I did, Sports for Life. And we walked it, and she claimed that she came from an agricultural background, which, that's what she told me. So I walked the ground, I told her what she needed doing. It needed baling. The grass was 4 foot high. It needed baling, and then it needed significant amount of mowing, fertilising, verti-draining to get it back to a standard where we could play at a good level.
After 3 months, Ian Turner, who you know, Ian, he mowed the top and bottom pitch, getting all the hay, getting it all baled up.
And then when I submitted my bill, Miss Powers refused to pay it. When I challenged her over it, the first explanation she gave was, we didn't give you a formal written order. You shouldn't have attended until we did. When I batted that one away by saying, your gentleman you asked me to liaise with opened the gates and let me in on all 3 weeks, she then stated quite amazingly, she said, well, we don't believe we should have to pay you any money because you would have sold the bales of hay and received your payment that way.
Sport for Life never paid him for that, and then 3 months after they went bust, but the co-op still kept them in the position they're in now.
In the space of about 5 years, they had closed 2 different versions of themselves through poor administration, owing money, and then came back again under a different name. But you tend to find that Jane Powers' name appears continuously as these companies have come on stream.
It was the Birmingham Co-op, not the Lichfield Co-op. To me, they inherited that ground and all they could see it was a cash cow. And I'm very bitter about it, to be honest.
There's still a need for grass football pitches. The Central Warwickshire Boys League had matches planned onto that pitch every Sunday, right through from like 9:30 in the morning till 2:30 in the afternoon. It was being played on continuously. And Saturday's local men's football was going on there. So anybody who suggested that the ground wasn't being used just didn't go in it. But we really need to be focusing on opportunities for people in Yardley and Sheldon as much as we possibly can, particularly for kids who may come from families who are not financially well off but want their kids to be involved in something. And I'd love to see the club do that.